cash for clunkers. Well, that's been the hot take on the still unconfirmed story that Canada is about to buy 18 used fighter jets from Australia. Wait a second. Didn't the government once promise to buy the best new equipment for the troops? Well, that was long before a trade dispute with the US-based defense company Boeing, which meant that the government was canceling the purchase of 18 brand new Super Hornet jets. So is this whole new purchase, the interim step from Australia, a good idea? Doesn't Canada need a whole brand new fleet of jets anyway? To find out more about this, we're joined by the former chief of the defense staff, Canada's top military job, of course, the former fighter pilot, General Tom Lawson, who we should say, sir, you do a lot of strategic fights for various companies, including Lockheed Martin, who makes the F-35. What was your take? You know, this is unconfirmed, although interestingly, Boeing has already confirmed that Canada is going to go ahead and buy these classic FA-18, you know, these Hornets from Australia. Good idea?
Well, there's kind of two parts to the question. Right. The first is it a good idea that they would cancel the idea and the project to buy Super Hornets? And absolutely so. I think
brand new ones.
Yeah, exactly. They've saved themselves a lot of trouble to have kind of an orphan fleet of 18 that need new pilots, new technicians. They saved the RCF a lot of work, and it's going to allow them to get this fighter project on track to get to what we eventually need, which is going to be a fighter that's going to last us for 50 years.
Okay, well, let's get to that, because the Liberals keep saying we need this interim step because we have an aging fighter fleet. They were going to buy these brand new Super Hornets from Boeing. Then they've got a trade dispute with Boeing and Bombardier. So that's out the window. So politics got in the way of national security. But you're happy of that unanticipated consequence, right? You thought that was a dumb idea.
Whether it's serendipitous or not, I'm very happy. I think everybody who knows the fighter world and the best requirements for Canada's defense outcomes will be very happy with that.
Okay, they didn't want that. But now you're going to get 18 or more 30-year-old jets from Australia. Australia's dumping these planes. They're going in on the F-35. Why are we buying their used jets?
Well, I think as soon as you make this decision on Super Hornets and that you're going to not be able to fill that capability gap that you've advertised with those, you look for a way to fill the capability gap. And this is actually a valid way. If indeed there is a capability gap, and let's say that there is, then to go and buy similar aircraft from a well-known colleague makes sense. Now, it's going to take some time to get them to Canadian similarities for our pilots to fly them, and it may be more time that would have taken to go directly to a competition. But if you want to fill that capability gap this way, it is a way of doing it. My
question is politics getting in the way of prudence here? Because this whole capability gap was a thing that the Liberals have come up with, and the defense minister's been on this show and talked about it. And the question I've had, and I frankly haven't got a great answer for this, is why it's taken 2 years in office. Why don't you just go to an open competition to replace the entire fleet? You're taking a lot of time. You got to buy and refurbish all these other jets. Isn't there time just to go to a big open competition and get 88 new fighter jets?
Yes.
There
is time, and in fact, I think what we would see is there are even ways to accelerate the delivery of those aircraft. I think what the government is committed to is a full-up competition and indicated that will take a certain amount of time. They want to be very careful with that, so they're left with this awkward gap that they've advertised.
It's an expensive, awkward gap, though. Like, I mean, I want to see it through your eyes because, you know, from my end, I just don't get it. If you're going to replace the fleet, why go through this short-term step? They're all 30-year-old jets. I know they've been refurbished, but fundamentally, they're committed to replacing it all. They're not committed to Lockheed Martin's F-35 in the last campaign, but they say they're open to it in 2 years anyway. Do you think politics is blinding them to the prudent thing? Get going on the big picture here.
Do I think that they could accelerate the process to get the end solution? Yes.
Is it odd that Australia is dumping Hornets and replacing it with the F-35, along with most of our allies? And this government keeps saying the F-35 is not even in the competition until after the next election. What does that tell you?
Well, it tells us, like most of our partners, that the F-35 is the solution. Every time the F-35 is in a competition, it wins the competition. For a lot of reasons. It's not only a great one-for-one replacement for fighters, it's part of a huge network that we've never seen before. And everybody's that's buying these things are finding out that they're not just buying a fighter jet, they're buying a part of a holistic system. So, it makes sense that all of our partners have jumped to the F-35. I think it's very likely that Canada will do that too. Now, in the meantime, I think the Australians, as they, wouldn't use the word dumping as you would. I'd say that they're going to bring them to a graceful retirement. And I think that as they bring these aircraft to a retirement, there's still some residual value in them. Now,
yeah, but I don't know. I mean, you used to be an Air Force pilot. You're the general. I don't know if anybody sees our military as a retirement home for other military's jets. I don't know if that's the bumper sticker you want on this government.
No. Well, let's kind of ease away from the government. Think, as you asked me to, as a fighter pilot. If I'm running 77 F-18s right now and you tell me we're going to get some more, I can do it easily. The engineers have some work to do to bring them to Canadian standards, but I can do it easily and fit them into the aircraft and the systems that we've got right now.
If you were still, I mean, it's a difficult thing, but if you're in the position and you said, what would you rather have, this interim step or just get going on a new plane, what would you choose?
Absolutely clear. Get going on the new plane.
General Lawson, great to have you on the program.
Thanks,
and happy holidays to you and your family.
You too.